本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。
What's good, Internet? It's Monday, November 30th, and you're listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 363. I'm your host, Austin Walker. Joining me today, Gita Jackson, back on the pod.
Hello.
Hi,
I'm
Gita. Hi. Patrick Klepek, still with us.
I'm here turning down my mic levels. Well, what did you do, Windows? I caught you. I caught you.
Yeah.
Or someone
Every time.
Cado caught you.
Every
Get that
time.
70 down to 50, please.
Also here, Cado. How you doing?
All right, Monday after a long break. Doesn't feel real yet. Doesn't feel like, am I awake? Is this a dream? Is this a horrible nightmare?
It's a
Will
horrible
I wake
nightmare.
up and still have
Welcome
another
to work.
day?
You will, but it will be December tomorrow
Oh,
when you
Jesus.
wake up again.
Oh, shit. Fortnite
one more month.
is happening.
What?
Galactus is going to come eat Fortnite.
Oh, is Galactus going to finally eat Fortnite? I've been wondering.
Yeah,
I've been waiting for that motherfucker
they're finally
to come around and do
introducing
something
Vor
good.
into Fortnite.
Galactus should come and eat us all.
Yeah.
Yeah, please. Let's
What's
Yeah.
it like?
go.
Has there been a comic that's like sort of like what was that? What's that collection called that you were a part of, Austin? I like that Star Wars phrasing.
The Star Wars
From
one,
another point of view?
Certainly,
Yeah.
But
From a
it's
certain
like
point of
about
view.
Galactus.
What is the first person internal monologue of like, what is it like to be eaten by Galactus? I want like the minute by minute breakdown.
That's.
I think we could find something like that for you on the internet.
I mean, AOV's right
if
there.
you do a little search around, I bet you could find something.
What's it like to
What's
be
it
bored
like
by
to be-
Galactus? I'm sure there's plenty of results for this.
But like his power set is,
Yes.
he's not chewing you. He's
You're-
more like
He just
He has
he's
feels
like
being
like
the-
atomized.
I don't know.
Spaghettified,
I don't know.
probably?
Yeah,
Is there like a black hole
See,
situation?
I'm getting the gears going.
Yeah.
You're thinking about
Yeah.
this.
No
matter
what
what-
does Galactus
no
do
matter
to the human
what,
body?
someone has found a way to make this sexy. So it doesn't
You're
really
right.
matter what his powers
You're not
are.
wrong.
It's
No
someone's
one's
horny
called
for it.
Galactus ugly. I don't think that was part of the conversation. Galactus is a big tall
He a
boy.
big man. He's a big
Beautiful,
tall
beautiful
man.
man. My cat is screaming
Distinctive
at me
style
now
for
to get
accents.
out of this room. Can't handle it. The Galactus comment was too much for her.
You're welcome.
Here's my pitch for you, Patrick, is Cloverfield, but it's Galactus.
Sure,
like
that sounds,
first
that
Cloverfield.
sounds
You know
dope.
what I mean?
Actually,
Yeah.
like
Found footage,
the disappointment
like,
of
people,
New Mutants
yeah.
is that it was not actually like a particularly good horror film, but like comics
Yeah.
and horror would be great. So
Oh,
yes,
man.
like an
And then-
invasion of Galactus. That sounds awesome.
Doesn't that sound
And then at the
wonderful?
end, it's just a big cloud. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, that's,
I watched that movie at one point. It's worth it for that scene alone. But you have to have, you can't be one, like, I thought about it, or was like, oh, I guess I could just YouTube it. It's like, no. Like,
You need to see
earn
it.
the disappointment, you need to have seen the whole movie and be like, oh, really? Like, this is what they're going to do? You just watch the 30-second clip on YouTube, you haven't earned the disappointment. Is that,
I see.
that's how I
I
spend my
absolutely
time.
believe that about movies that are good in untraditional ways, one might say, who have something of value that is not necessarily their competence or skill in filmmaking. Is like sometimes you do have to see the entire context to know how badly something sucks. It's so much better that way.
Yeah, fair. You know what? Fair enough. How was everyone's weekend? Long weekend this week. Everyone do anything good? Anyone feel like this COVID Thanksgiving was worth it?
You know, I actually did discover one thing that made me feel joy over this Thanksgiving break. Not Thanksgiving, where my boyfriend's grandmother called me his fiance, and my mom asked my brother how long he was dating his girlfriend, which is 7 years. That was very awkward.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's a lot. Did you know that there was a Muppets television show for a little bit that was trying to just do, it was styled exactly after The Office, trying to do The Office
Yeah,
comedy.
they implied, yes, this was like
I didn't know this.
long after the two actual, like, my daughter's gotten obsessed with the most recent Muppets movies, the one with Jason Segel and...
Yeah, that first one with Jason Segel is so good.
It's really good. It's like, it's so fucking charming. Like,
Yeah,
we've
I
had the
can't wait
soundtrack
to-
on constantly, and the second movie is not very good, but the
Yeah.
soundtrack, which is written by the not Jermaine Clement, the other guy on Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah, that guy.
That the not actor one. His
name's
I'm sorry to you, not Jermaine Clement. But he wrote the songs for both of them, and they're terrific, like little song numbers. But then yes, alongside that, for like a separate Muppet revival, was this weird like Office show where like I watched like 2 episodes and like implications of fucking and
Muppets have sex in this future, this dark future. Like at one point Kermit says he's broken up with Miss Piggy is the conceit, but he still works as executive producer on her show Up Late with Miss Piggy. And like David read this very good review, this well-written review of it that was negative in the New York Times that really lambasted it for like basically turning Kermit into a divorced dad that doesn't have kids even. Like, it's just strong divorced dad energy. Nothing is within his control. It's
that sounds great.
It's like
me.
all of the, what's that guy that was Batman for 1 second and now it's Robert Pattinson? Zachary, what's his name's Batman?
Wait, who was
Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck, you know.
Oh,
that guy. I have an awful memory for names. He just looks like every other. I'm sorry to the one white
fair.
man present. It's just he looks like every other
Paul
white
Rudd?
guy. He looks like a lot of white guys to me.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Ben Affleck do be looking white. You got it.
Looks like a white guy from the Northeast, which is
add it
where
to the
I'm
Wikipedia
from.
page.
It's true. It's true.
Main characteristics. Be looking like one of
You're
those
looking
white
like
guys.
one of those white guys to me. I don't know.
My favorite bit is I read Gone Girl before it was a movie, and the main characteristic of the character that Ben Affleck plays is that he's like good looking enough, except when he smiles, he looks like a complete douchebag.
Yeah, well cast
there
then.
you go.
Yeah,
Anyway, David and I watched enough of that Muppet show to get to this Lawrence Fishburne cameo, which is this absolute pure light and joy and belongs in the MoMA. Please just take a minute to observe this.
excited to
It's
see.
really one of the best things
It's
I've
funny.
ever seen in my life.
I almost brought him up a moment ago because he was also the Silver Surfer in that bad Fantastic
Fishburne?
Four movie.
What?
Lawrence Fishburne do be having the best time of anyone in
Well,
Hollywood.
so what? So
Just the voice, just the voice, just the
yeah,
voice.
Doug Jones,
Yeah.
who does like a
Okay.
lot of animatronic stuff for like Guillermo del Toro, and basically like any movie monster. Like you could be like there's like a good chance that Doug Jones was like the person in the suit in the last like 10, 15 years. That's funny. That I didn't realize that movie's all right. That one's like actually it's not that. It's like it's
Yeah.
okay. But the Silver Surfer's a cool character.
Yeah.
And like that's the only time it's been depicted on screen.
Yeah.
And then then the gas cloud shows up and it's a little.
Yeah. Sorry,
What's it
I
like
can
to be
tell.
eaten by the gas cloud though? You know.
Yeah, I
don't
mean, I
know.
bet someone's horny for that too. That's the only thing I can. Only
You're
way I
right.
can answer
Good
these
call.
questions.
Good call. Lawrence Fishburne just yelled at Kermit in this clip. It was great.
It's
Yeah.
so good. Oh, it's the conceit. Kermit's
Also-
upset. He's riding around in the
Wait, he
golf
comes
cart.
back.
Almost. Yeah, he comes back.
He does come back. Get his ass, Lawrence.
It's just the joy he has.
Kermit also complained about the lack of, about his failing vertical leap. Is
Yeah.
Kermit having problems on the basketball court? Like,
Kermit-
why? What's?
He's getting old. He doesn't jump as high
I
as he
can't
used
dunk
to.
anymore. Yeah,
He can't dunk anymore. Could Kermit dunk?
God. Kermit could dunk.
In his youth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 and
In
5
his
he can
youth?
jump.
Absolutely.
He's a frog. Yeah, he could jump. He got ups.
He got. I mean, sure. I mean, sure. Whatever. You know, that makes sense to me.
what-
Sorry. This
that
is
means-
a very
listen.
long Muppets digression.
I don't know. Muppets seem cool. Shout out to
Muppets
the
are the
Muppets.
best. Honestly, Muppets rock. Fraggle
Yeah,
Rock
that's
also
it.
rocks.
That's the
This
podcast.
is what I
this
did
weekend.
during
We're not
this
going to talk
break.
about video games at all.
I
We're just
had,
going to keep
like-
talking about things we sort of like the Muppets and Lawrence Fishburne.
Yo, Lawrence Fishburne, Larry, he's my dude. Remember when when Movies Week gets credited as Larry? It's my favorite thing in the world. Anyway,
Before he
other
was
people
Lawrence
did
Fishburne, when
other
he was
things,
Larry
other things.
Fishburne when he was young.
What?
You don't know about this?
No.
Yeah.
You
That's
boys know
incredible.
that he's credited as Larry. Oh, did you know he also lied to Francis Ford Coppola to go be in Apocalypse Now? He was fucking 14 years old while this grown man is having a full-blown mental breakdown in the middle of Vietnam.
I
Wow.
did not know this.
What?
Shout out to Larry.
Shout out to Larry.
Let me see if I can do this.
Do they keep those in like the updated like Blu-ray versions? Or like no,
Yeah,
you're Larry for life.
100%.
Good.
Well, I guess that's not true. I haven't seen the Blu-ray of King of New York, but
Like
the last time I
wonder.
watched,
I bet they keep the actual movie credits, but I wonder if
Right.
like on the box,
Yeah.
like you know, like in like the
Right.
like the
To
little bits at
update
the,
it.
You're
at the
right.
bottom, like does it say starring Larry
Larry Fishburne,
like parentheses Lawrence?
Yeah, good question. You know what? I got proof. I got proof.
Oh my god, yes.
Boom! Here's the Blu-ray for King of New York.
Larry,
which
Here it is.
Larry Fishburne. People who don't know King of New York, it's a like a crime movie with Christopher Walken and
Real
David
good.
Caruso and Larry Fishburne. Wesley Snipes is in that movie. It's an incredible cast. Giancarlo Esposito is in that movie.
Oh damn!
It's from 1990. It's a crime movie about New York. It's not. I wouldn't say it's capital G good, but I had a good time.
Okay.
It's good though. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very.
It's like me spending Thanksgiving
Yeah.
watching Wishmaster good. Like, you know, I mean, what is this good? Is good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
feel
Walken is Walken in it. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna go there for that mood and that vibe, and it's good. It's I don't know. I enjoyed it. But it's a crime movie, and this is my ability to segue from the King of New York to the Empire of Sin, Gita. Now you're free to talk about Empire of Sin, a mob game, a mafia game.
Oh man.
That was made. I think we've talked about it a couple of times now, right? I think we saw it at an event, and then you got a demo of it a little while ago. It is being published by Paradox Interactive, developed by Romero Games. Brenda and John.
You and Rob
Romero
CD3
are
one of
making
these
it.
one
We
of these
did.
years in the past.
Yeah.
Forever ago. In fact, I think I bumped into Gita going to see it, maybe even.
I think we were in the same complex, and you're like, "What are you gonna do?" And I was like,
Yes.
"Oh, Empire's of Sin right now." And you're like, "Oh, I just saw it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Nice. I haven't seen you in like a full calendar year, and I won't see you for another." So.
We live in the same city, but we both work too much.
Yeah. Aha. Why do we write books? Anyway, I've seen it a couple of times now, and the first time I saw it, it felt like they had such a clear vision of what they want this game to be. And then when I actually got my hands on it, I only had like 2 hours, and with a strategy game, that's really not enough time.
It's
so
not enough time.
It felt right, but I couldn't be sure. Now that I've played a session where I silently slipped into my bed at 5 a.m. because I was playing too much, I can solidly say that this game is good in really interesting and strange ways.
Okay. Can you set it up like generally again for people who maybe missed previous episodes where we've talked about it?
Yeah. So this is a game that's headed mostly by Brenda Romero, who is the most charming person I've ever had the privilege of interviewing in my life, about her fascination with 1920s era Prohibition gangsters, specifically in Chicago. It is a meticulously researched game about Prohibition era gangsters that combines some fictional and real gangsters. Like there's Al Capone is in it. I really like this character that's sort of a pastiche of different other mobsters called Goldie Gardneau, which is a Quebecois chanteuse who comes to Chicago to also be, a rum runner and all that. And, this is a game with the Vice Kings gang, which is led by this guy who's also a really cool, super enormous black man that's also an undertaker, which just is like perfect. Like I love that guy.
Love to be a big undertaker and also crime lord.
You just when you're done with them, you just take them down to the basement. That's all you gotta do. It's perfect. And it is a combination strategy game and RPG. So while you get missions RPG style, and you can upgrade characters' skills in sort of RPG style, it's a little bit watered down. There's I feel like a lot more focus was put into the strategy game aspect, but in order to complete these missions events, essentially you're just playing like 1920s Prohibition era XCOM. Like it's really, really fun. The game, like it's interesting. You start out with one racket and one brewery, and you do have this sort of restaurant management stuff going on in the background where you want to make sure that you are maximizing the profits from your breweries and your rackets. Breweries provide alcohol. Rackets can be brothels, casinos, hotels, or speakeasies, obviously. And those are the things that make money for you. And you can upgrade them in all kinds of ways. And, by having a certain combination of things, you can synergize your businesses in order to make them more successful. But
so if you have like a speakeasy where you're serving alcohol and also like brewery or like a moonshine factory. There's a word I'm looking for, and I'm not
Distillery.
A distillery, thank you. That's a Monday.
It's okay. It's a Monday.
And you also have a distillery. I'm guessing that means like, oh, hey, look, we have these two businesses. These two businesses like help me work together because I'm not buying my booze. I'm making my own booze or something like that.
You can also, you can change the production quality of the booze. You can also like make one of your breweries produce poison and sell that to rival gangs, which just happened to me.
Damn.
Really annoying. Yeah, I had to close all my bars and I lost a bunch of money. It was super irritating, but I'm gonna Daniel O'Banion's better watch out. And so like the most of the verb that you do is like shoot. Like what you mostly are doing, like to take up the time that it takes to play the game, is go from building to building, from situation to situation, and have various fights.
You're doing XComs, but everyone is wearing sick like when does this take place? Is it the 20s or is it the 30s?
Yeah, it's the 20s. 1920 is when it starts. Yeah. Okay. January 1920. So everybody's got Tommy guns.
Speakeasy stuff.
It's all period weapons also, which is really cool. So you start to see like the beginning of submachine guns and that kind of stuff, which is really neat when you get your hands on one and see how much more powerful they are than the rest of the guns.
Sure. Yeah.
And then they also, everyone has these special abilities that they learn through experience in combat. I have one now for Goldie, who is the boss that I'm playing as, where if I shoot someone and it kills them, I get to keep shooting. Just get to keep shooting until everyone's dead, possibly.
Yeah, great ability.
I love that.
Keep going after you get a kill is a great ability in any tactics game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you're killing people all the time. That's the thing that you do.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Is it dangerous to take your leader out like that, though? Like, onto the field?
Yeah. I mean, if she dies, you lose. But you need her sometimes,
Right.
So there is sort of like a strategy of trying to protect and defend people. I'm right now in this game, I have completely taken over the near north side. Like, that is Goldie Garneau territory. There are other people that have some rackets there, but I'm slowly but surely, we're going to take over the rest of the Chicago. They are not as powerful as I am. They have more money and more alcohol, but I am stronger overall. And I think I seem to be the only character that has taken over an entire neighborhood so far. So that puts me in an advantageous position. Like, that is mine. And if they come to my territory, they have to deal with me. So that's really nice. But there's this one guy who's safe house. Like, I can take him out and take over. I've taken over all the rest of his rackets, but his safe house is still in my neighborhood. And I've been trying to go there and take over his safe house so I can completely take him out of the business. But I've just been like saving and reloading the same save like over and over and over again, because he keeps throwing like time bombs and dynamite at me, and it takes out my machine gunner, Maria.
Christ.
And if you any character dies, they don't come back. So you've invested a lot of time into upgrading some of these like shittier characters into better characters. And they also, they have their own personalities. So at this point, Maria is the lover of another one of my gangsters. So if she goes out in battle, he's going to freak the fuck out.
Right.
It's not going to be great.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So like underneath, like the verb that you do most of the time is shoot and get in fights. You fight and shoot and kill and like take things over. But underneath at all times, there's like this frenzy of like mathematical equations that is determining how everyone else thinks about you and what every other character is doing. So it's like also like you took XCOM and then just slapped it on top of Crusader Kings.
Right.
So
right.
All these
That's
games,
interesting.
it's all these games in miniature, so it doesn't ever reach the same depth as Crusader Kings does. There's a finite amount of people. They aren't just continually like breeding and creating new versions of themselves.
People, right. Now, the time scale would be very strange there if Maria's kid joined the mob, because Maria's kid would be a baby.
Yeah. A little baby with a Tommy gun. That'd be great.
Yeah.
A little baby in a pinstripe suit. That'd be fantastic.
Perfect. That'd
little
be
baby
great.
suspenders. I would love that. But yeah, so you are not, it's not quite as a universe that changes as drastically.
But the characters do have, I'm guessing, like traits the way CK traits have. Like this person gets angry easily. This person is good at doing this.
Yeah, in fact, when you want to make deals with other bosses, you can see whether or not their personality meshes with yours.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you start off with just a lot of people not liking you, and like people make alliances based out of convenience. But, you know, I am originally allied with the Alley Cats, who are an Irish mob, who the leader just died and the wife took over, which is causing everybody to raise their eyebrows about who killed the husband.
Sure.
And I liked her for a bit, but I saw that she didn't have very many rackets, she didn't have a lot of alcohol, and she didn't have a lot of money. So I double-crossed her for Reagan's Cults, which is a Italian game that set up a couple rackets in my neighborhood, but it felt like they were more powerful in other neighborhoods, and if I allowed them to have the 2 rackets here, then they can take out the remaining alley cats that are closer to them. And I joined a war with them when they asked me to. And that worked out for me. But Frankie Donovan, like, he's the number one thing. He's the number one guy on my shit list. Like, that is the next action to see what happens when you completely take out another part of the mob. And, like, what that does to your standing.
Yeah, like, how does that shake up things?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm very curious about this. I had forgotten that it was coming out, and now it's like a nice thing to take up some time.
Yeah, there should be a bunch of reviews dropping today. Mine's not coming until later the week, I think, because I got kind of sick both over Thanksgiving break and then just generally in the past 2 weeks.
Fair.
Yeah, so still need a little bit more time with the game. I want to play. I want to play as the leader of the Vice Kings, the Undertaker guy, and a couple of other characters.
Yeah, I'm very curious. That's like one of my big things. Is like, will it feel different to play these different characters, or will it just feel like bonuses have shifted around? Do you know what I mean? That's always like a difficult thing in a strategy game like this.
Well, I can tell at the very least they've made a huge effort to make the flavor very, 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 very different. Like worlds apart different. So Goldie is introduced to the game. You know, you get some short cutscenes, and she's introduced as coming back to the city from a tour, and she's got to help a guy out with a problem he's having. But I've played another character before and played through her beginning, Stephanie St. Clair, who is from the islands. I think she's implied to be Haitian, I think. And she's based on a real gangster that was from New York in the 1920s. Cool. And Brenda Romero told me that they just found the character so interesting, they transported her to Chicago.
What if she went to Chicago? Sure.
Yeah. Why not? And she's an older woman who's like a very, like, she's like, just like if your auntie ran a huge rum running organization, you know, like she's very stern. She's got like an auntie hat, you know, like it's really, she's wearing like a really long overcoat and is always telling people that their husbands ain't shit. So the mob characters will also have like story specific missions that will reveal more of their backstory.
Okay, that's
so
neat.
Even if it does kind of just feel like you're flipping the bonuses around, which I will say, you know, the mob bosses, they have specific abilities, not just they have specific abilities for like all 3 spheres of the game, for negotiating, for running your rackets in general, and for combat. Mm-hmm. So Goldie Garneau has this thing called Killer Queen, where if she can see up to 3 characters, she can mark them and then shoot them for massive amounts of damage. So it's basically a one-hit kill in the early game. And I know that the other characters do not have those same abilities, that they will do different things in combat. So I know at least that they've tried to make them feel different, although I can't speak to how much they actually feel different.
Fair. It's so funny to me that when I think about the first game that I played that Brenda Romero worked on was probably, it was a tactics game, Jagged Alliance 2, but she was just a writer on that. But Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Commander, which was a Facebook game, but was yeah, I know, right? But was a tacticsy Facebook game. I believe that's the one I'm thinking of. Maybe there was a different one, but that she worked on that was like surprisingly good. Yeah, this is what it was. It was like, this is way better than you would think that is. You know, it was like 2010 or something like that. You know,
it's harder. It's like legitimately hard to remember how much money was being poured into Facebook games.
100%.
Now,
100%.
Like, none of it. it is literally not even a platform for video games anymore.
Yeah.
And at one point was being seen as like a
The
future,
next
like
future
pillar.
platform. Yeah, exactly. But at the time, I remember being like, damn, like there's some neat ideas as just a tactics game here. Like, fuck Tom Clancy shit. But this game kind of slaps in an interesting way. And I'm glad that she's gone back to tactics stuff because I'm curious to see what she ends up doing. I'm curious to see how this game plays because I like this subgenre a lot, and I'm excited to play it.
That I knew that it was gonna hit for me was when I started playing through the tutorial, and there is a piece of music that was just like going so hard. I actually found it difficult to pay attention to the tutorial, and I was wow, they didn't have to go so hard just on the soundtrack to this video game. Like, this is legitimately some good jazz music I would just listen to. And then when you get in combat, like, the Romero flare comes out, and there's, like, distorted electric guitar starts blending into it. It's fucking sick, man. It rocks.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? John Romero also worked on it.
They got Nine Inch Nails to come back and do the soundtrack for Empire of Sin.
If
Actually,
only.
you know what?
Trent would do it.
Trent Reznor's music soundtracks are incredible. They're like
so
a
good.
huge part of what I listen to when I write.
They're so great.
You know what?
Trent, I know you don't know if you listen to this podcast, but I know that you play games generally.
I have an idea of whether or not he listens to the podcast. I bet
Probably
not.
Maybe one of his 5 children listens to this podcast.
Yes, there's the way.
Yeah,
That's
God.
it.
If you're a Trent Reznor child, if you're Nova, please tell your father to listen to this podcast and to link up with Brenda Romero.
Get together with John Dickerson's child, who must clearly listen to this podcast after they
Right.
ratted me out on Twitter.
God damn.
No other explanation. No
That's
other
the only
explanation.
thing that makes sense to me. It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Those two can get together and figure it out for us.
God.
When I was interviewing Brenda for the preview, which I still have a bunch of really great quotes that I got to like put into an article. I was going to talk to Rob about that today, but he's not here. It was
enjoying your extra day off.
Yeah,
Rob, I can tell you, he's fucking stuck in Latria having a miserable time.
That's
That's
what
the
he's
experience
doing.
I had
100%.
playing, watching his Demon Souls playthrough, with helping him navigate
just
an
being
area last night.
terrorized by a dog and then terrorized by a video game. Oh, Rob.
Yeah.
Oh, Rob, our friend.
Life.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
I was
what were
interviewing
you going
Rob.
to say you were going to say, Brenda, you had a thing
There
from
was just like
talking
a
to Brenda
funny. I mean,
Romero.
I had a lot of really wonderful moments. She spoke at length at striving to make this game not only like diverse, but make it hit right for people of color, and the lengths that they went to for that, which I'll talk a little bit about. What I can talk about when I finally write up this interview. But I just remember her. Talking to her and then seeing in the background that a door was open, and then watching John Romero about to walk into the office, see that his wife was doing an interview, and then slowly close the door.
That's extremely good.
It was really funny.
God.
Yeah.
I had
The
another
Romeros,
thought.
they're people too.
Yes,
They're
they
people
are.
too. People who make good video games are people too. It turns out, I had a connected thing, and I mean, we could talk about Demon Souls, but I imagine it's going to take up some time, so I feel like that should be a back half.
We
of the podcast
can now
thing.
firmly put Demon Souls in the Destiny zone, which
Yeah.
is like, look,
a check in.
you got your front loaded, like,
Yeah,
you know,
new
it was
shit.
exciting. Now we're moving it to the back,
Yeah.
where so we
Yeah.
can put other stuff at the front.
I have a thing that neither of you told me that you played recently, but I hadn't been here for a conversation where you talked about it. I don't know if it just fell through the cracks, but I remember in our group chat in our Slack, there had been some Fuser talk weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like the Fuser conversation never happened. And I said this because I looked up some footage of Empire of Sin that opened with a Fuser ad. I was like, wait a second,
I
wait a
played some
second,
Fuser. That
Okay.
game wins.
Yeah, both Gita and I did, but
Can we talk? Can you talk to me about Fuser?
I canned the talk because I was like, well, I'll just wait till Gita's on, and then
Right,
it just
and then
didn't.
there happened.
schedules
Now,
didn't align
listen,
for a while.
the
there.
things have
Patrick,
aligned.
it's time.
Let's talk about
All right,
Fuser.
go. Take it away, Gita. Set it up because you've played more than I have.
Fuser is a DJ video game that actually makes me feel like I'm learning how to be a real DJ, like in life, which is a very cool and weird feeling. It also makes me feel like I'm learning a lot more about why songs sound good, which is a very cool and weird feeling. It's just like, I don't know if it's a good video game, as in I don't know it's a very good goal-oriented activity where, like, things that you should be doing at particular times. Like, whenever I fuck up in that game, the game is always like, oh, that's real nice. You did okay.
It's okay. You can do it again. Like the structure of it is like, as opposed to sort of like a rock band or a Guitar Hero where you have, it's easy to imagine the visual. Well, it's not easy. They did a very hard thing that seemed easy in retrospect was to visualize the quote note highway and take like the dunk 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 and doo of like guitars and basses and drums and like put that on there on screen. Whereas in Fuser, like there are like sort of like beats that you are trying to transition between that you are graded on in the same way that there is a note highway. So it's like when you are like adding the bass of some track or the guitar of one track or the vocals of one track, what you want to do is like do that alongside like certain beats, and it grades you on like a good or poor or perfect, and you're getting more points if you're doing that. But it's also meant to, as Gita said, reflect as part of the tutorialization, we're not doing this just to gamify, to give you some sort of like score metric. It's to also convey, good DJs are doing things at certain times on purpose. Now, are they gamified? I'm not sure that necessarily I can't speak to it. I'm not sure if DJ is sitting around going like, got to make sure I hit that beat exactly so I get the perfect. Like that's probably just it's just something they know, right? Like they just into it. But I mean, it does the hard thing of, for someone that doesn't understand like how music works, me, and it sounds like Gita to some degree for you, of like, oh, this is like if you were to like break open the hood of like the brain of a DJ, like this is some of the stuff that's going on. Maybe they wouldn't even be able to articulate it, but like this is like the science of DJing broken down into like sort of a material structure that the average person can play around with. And like I played about an hour of it where I was playing music for my kids and they were having a blast, like yelling at me to like boo, like we don't like this song, and like I would just move on to something else. Well, I told them to do that. I was like, it's a game where you play music. If you don't like it, so that was part of the bit. And I turned up the subwoofer in my office and they were jumping around. And after that hour, I was like kind of good. I was like, this is really cool and interesting. It feels like a party trick. It's like the kind of thing where if I had someone over in times where I could have people over, I'm like, hey, you need to check out this game, which is also the same way I felt about the board, the digital card game, or not digital, the physical card game, whose name is escaping me as I now want to transition to what it's.
Drop Mix.
Yes, Drop Mix. So Fuser is in some ways like a fully digital version of Drop Mix. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's a similar concept of like you have cards that you're playing certain elements of a song to create a custom mix. And Drop Mix was absolutely like I found one of like the big deluxe sets at a just down the street at for like $5.
Hell yeah.
And it was unopened, and it rules. You set up an iPad or an iPhone, and like that's the game interface. I talked about this on a previous podcast if you go back and Google it, but a Fuser fell in the same category for me of like, I played an hour, I got my party trick out of it, I would take it out again. I think it's a real accomplishment. We have a review up on the site kind of like digging into this, but Keith, I don't know how you felt, but I haven't felt a pull to go back to it beyond like, I think it's really cool and more people should check it out, but the game part didn't hook me enough to want to like go through the campaign and see more of it.
I mean, once you get through the campaign, what happens with the campaign is that you get to the point where it's like, and now you need to tap on this MIDI box. And I'm like, I don't understand this whatsoever. And I don't understand the point of it.
What does the MIDI box do? I didn't get that far.
Oh, you have to like sample your own drum beats and stuff from this like MIDI.
Oh, that sounds...
Yeah, from like a... Number one, that's hard enough when people have
like the
physical...
part where I was playing the bass of Ace of Base. And like, I was making bad music sound good.
Yes.
Putting the whistling from All-Star under everything.
The whistling from All-Star is so good. It adds like a lot to a lot of different songs you're not expecting to. The whistle from All-Star is classic. It truly is. The game aspect, like what rocked about Guitar Hero, looking back on it, is this idea of the world tour and the setup of being like someone who plays in garage bands to someone who plays in stadiums. That is a narrative arc of like fame that everybody understands and a lot of people have fantasized about. So being able to embody it makes more sense. I'm 31 years old and I completely missed the era of pop music where DJs were really popular and everyone knew who DJs were. So I don't fantasize about playing at festivals. I don't even want to go to a festival. Like, if we're being real, I'm old and I don't want to stand for that long.
You probably shouldn't go to a festival.
Yeah.
Unless you're in New Zealand or Australia. There's some countries that have done it okay.
Yeah.
But
If I was in New Zealand, I would be doing all sorts of shit just because I could. You know what I mean? Like, I don't go to music festivals. I'll go to this one. Shit, we got one of those.
Exactly.
I'm gonna post on Instagram like, hey, I don't even like it. I'm here.
What are we doing? Rugby?
EDM Austin
okay.
checking in.
Just hugging strangers.
Exactly. I'll catch you at the rugby game. I'll catch you doing whatever.
Yeah.
Look at me real close to other people. Ha ha. Ha ha.
Meet me in the mall. It's going down.
Well, and also the thing with Fuser is, like, it's not like it's the first attempt at like gamifying like this sort of like approach. Like DJ Hero was a game that I think, in retrospect, is like deeply underappreciated. I really liked DJ Hero. I didn't play the sequel as much, and I heard they made the sequel. Like the sequel was really, really good too. Mm-hmm. But that was an attempt of trying to follow the Guitar Hero track of like how can we turn like the follow the note highway concept, which is the one that I respond to. So like Fuser was interesting because like conceptually, I now feel like if I listen, I know more of how like the alchemy of creating.
Like, you don't even notice it, but it literally teaches you how to count notes. So that timeline bar, like it is so it's. I mean, it's like ballet, where like a lot of what you learn. I danced ballet until I was told definitively that I would never be a ballerina, essentially. Yeah. That was really early on, too, because you have to dance since you're like a literal baby in order to actually be a ballerina, whatever. But it does the thing that ballet does, where you train for years and years and years in order to make something that looks incredibly difficult look like it's like tying your shoes. Where it does this thing where it teaches you a lot of music theory by not teaching it to you, but just showing you a visual representation of it. So whenever it shows you this timeline, it's like, oh, if you drop it when it hits at the end of the timeline, well, it's just teaching you how to count a measure without saying this is a measure and here are how you count notes.
Because if you said that, I would get scared. And the same way that you said MIDI box, and I was like, can you give that a more gamified name, please?
Yeah.
Just
it's
lie
the
to me.
fun box. It'll give you fun points when you press it.
Yeah, it's like when I get your kid to eat a carrot. Oh, it's a Cheeto.
Yeah.
That was just a weird tasted Cheeto, kid.
That's a pro dad strat. Hell yeah.
Jessica actually just straight up eats her carrot, so I haven't had to do the Cheeto thing. We'll see what Elizabeth
Jessica's
does.
a horrible nightmare who's also the sweetest child in the world.
She is. I dropped her off this morning as a cat. She had to have a bowl of milk put out, and she had a collar on.
Oh,
and I said to my mom, I'm sorry, I'll see you at 5:30.
She's a cat today.
She's a cat today.
Wow.
I love it. Tell her high five for me when you get home. Me, the adult person wearing cat ear headphones. She doesn't have to get out of this.
You know what? It's interesting. I'm curious what like other folks who have played more of that game make of it, like as you get like really deep into the campaign. But I think it's interesting, but I don't know. Like it never went beyond. Like I think it's interesting. I wish people would play it, and at the same time, it's like but like I don't want to play any more of it. It's it's a really shitty recommendation to like intellectually respect what it accomplishes, but also I guess it's on some
being
level I didn't
overwhelmed
find the gameplay.
Well,
I kind of just wanted to do free play. I just I didn't on some level when I was doing the game stuff and I wasn't getting enough points, and it still keeps the star metric that Harmonix has had across a lot of their games, where as you're accomplishing tasks to the beat correctly, and like they add some other gamey things, like someone from the crowd shouts like, yo, I want the bass line in this, like a very specific request, and then you have to like match that and get that into the game, and you get like a bonus.
Put in the whistle from All Star.
Shut up, Austin.
Put it in. Where is it?
God. So the review that is up on our site, I just realized it's actually done by my friend Nathan Smith, who is a DJ. So if you shouted him to put in the whistle from All Star next time he plays DJ, he said, I'm sure he'd do it. But he's a lovely, lovely guy. I haven't had a chance to read his article yet, but it comes from someone who at least knows what it's like to do this for real. The first time I met Nathan, actually, he was DJing. And he was wearing a shirt that said, a lack of kush comes as no surprise. He's great.
Good.
Yeah.
God. Well, Anyway, Fuser seems cool. I'm gonna wait until it's on sale and buy it and a bunch of DLC. This is what my plan
Sounds
is.
right. Sounds about right.
It's also one of those games like secret. You're like, I bought it on PC, and then where's the mod that just puts in a bunch of songs? It's like I don't mean to be like,
It must
you
be
should,
a little hard
financially
though.
support developers, but also I want probably breaking out the tracks is
so
not as
expensive.
It's not
simple.
even just breaking out the tracks. It's fucking wild what they do to like
Individually.
tuning and stuff.
Yeah.
Like all of that. Like
It's
you don't have to
really
think about
impressive.
keys. Like that shit is
No.
wild what it does to like pitch shift things and not make it sound too weird. But
Yeah, you can also just
yeah.
like turn a dial to like automatically make the BPM for all the songs higher. Like it really takes a lot. It's like DJing for people with totally smooth brains.
I have seen a lot of
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of really like I've seen a lot of musicians and people who work with electronic music and who do DJing see this stuff and be like, wow, this is like a feat of programming to make this tool be able to do this without it all sounding like shit, and then like making it a thing that people who've never done this before can mess around with. So like I definitely respect it a lot.
It definitely feels also like because of the complexity that it's something that's authored specifically. Like it wouldn't be a thing where you could just import any sort of like even just if you had broken it out,
even if you had the stems
if you had like the
for
four
each
track, if you had the stems,
yeah,
it would.
yeah.
It's probably something where they like specifically had to make the BPM changes and the pitch changes for everything individually, right?
Knowing people who mod games though, 3 to 5 years.
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
3 to 5 years.
Eventually,
yeah.
Yeah.
Open Fuser will
Not
be
if,
released,
but when.
and yeah,
Yeah, I mean it'll.
Well, yeah, I guess that's the difference. Like, there's tons of stuff you can get for like Beat Saber, but those are all note chart games.
Yes.
So
Right.
you're just like layering, and that's certainly a much easier lift than, as Cado points out, the more additional.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess never count out modders, but it is one of those. It's the same. Well, it's the same with like Rock Band and stuff. Like
Yeah.
by the time we got to Rock Band 4, I was like, you know what, guys. I don't want to pay for initial DLC. I would love to just pay you $10 a month for a sub
Yeah.
and just get access to everything, because this
Right.
just like the amount of money you have to spend. I don't know how it works on Fuser. I didn't look at the DLC structure, but like, I mean, I know actual people in my life
It's
who
a
spent
lot.
thousands of dollars on Rock Band.
I think I
Tracks.
remember looking at it. And it's like if you bought every single piece of DLC, which means all the songs that are currently available, it's $100 to buy Fuser up front.
That's
on
correct.
Steam.
It's $2
That's
a
bullshit.
song, or there's the launch pack, which is $45. So it's $60 to buy the game, and then if you want all of the DLC songs, it's $45. And at that point, you may as well just spend the extra $5 for the backstage pass that includes all the aesthetic, like all the.
See, that's just such a
what do we
shitty
call
price.
that?
Like, I mean,
Yeah, this
just
has
give
gotta
me,
end.
like, leave that there, but like also just let me pay you $6.99 a month,
Yeah.
and maybe you'll end up getting more out of me.
Ooh, you might,
but
actually,
I just those music games, like the idea that you're buying a single that is proprietarily locked to this one video game. Like the Rock Band stuff, like unless you're like some of that stuff has been permanently phased out, and I think like hasn't made it across like I mean, I don't know the exact specifics, but like that's what you're gambling on then, and it just
Yeah.
seems. And
There's
I realize they're
some
putting a lot of
fucking
work into each
bangers
song,
in the
so I'm not trying to.
DLC too, which is the problem.
But I want to.
It's
I
like
want to
all
at
good
least be
stuff
able
that
to pay you $2 just to have a song.
Well, you can do that.
unlocked. Do you know?
Can be like,
Okay.
here's $2. I would like Trap Queen, please. Because the thing that I think is so good about this, or the thing that I think makes me go like, I want the DLC, is I want the parts. Like I want all of the. I might not ever just drop actually I would, because the Cranberries Linger is just like a dope track.
It's hard to mix with things, by the way. But anyway, go ahead.
But my point is like, maybe I want one part of this. Okay, so like for instance, $2 for Crank That is honestly a steal. Think about how much work you're going to get from
The
all the
steel
various
pans
parts
alone.
of Crank That.
Like,
yeah,
the steel
exactly.
pans alone.
You can just put that into anything. It's gonna sound dope. So like, I do think that like that's why it's such an attractive thing, and like why it's so easy to be like, yeah, I'm gonna just give $2. I'm gonna get a lot out of this. But it's just it is a lot of money. It is another. It
Do
is
they have
another
Fleetwood Mac's
$45.
Dreams?
They do not currently have, not as DLC. If it's in the base game, it's in the base game. I don't know.
They should
I don't
have
know.
that song in this game. I'm just thinking. David has been listening to a lot of Tusk recently because he's obsessed with this period of time where Lindsey Buckingham heard the Psycho Killer by the Talking Heads and then was on so much cocaine. He was like, I gotta make music that sounds like this. This is the future. He was right, but Fleetwood Mac can't make songs that sound like Talking Heads. So I've just been trying to, like, every time I hear like songs from Tusk that are not the songs that David thinks are very nice. I just think about Dreams and how good that song is. And you know what? Every single part of that song would be so good mixed with other songs. Especially that vocal track. Just isolate the think about this is how I think about music now when I think about Fuser. I always start just thinking about the parts of other songs I want to take and put in a song.
Fair. All right, we should take speaking of breakdowns and etc., we should take a break, and we will be back to talk about some other stuff, including Demon Souls finally, and some other stuff we've been playing. Okay, we are back, and we're all distracted because we're looking at this Xbox Series S running a bunch of PS2 games on it. That's
also
neat.
Super Mario Strikers.
Also Super Mario Strikers and Wind Waker and a bunch of other stuff in here.
Yeah, I want to shout out. This is a video from Modern Vintage Gamer, which is a good YouTube channel.
God Hand, all sorts of shit on this.
Basically what's happening in this video is that there's a way to flip on developer mode on the Xbox Series S and X, and that lets you run like Universal Windows apps, and there are emulators that can then just straight up run on existing Xboxes and run the discs you have in your house and the ISOs that you've ripped from those discs, you can then run really cool versions
anime,
of,
I'm pretty sure they had that.
That Klonoa 2 disc that you've ripped in your house can then run on your Xbox. But Gita had mentioned this, we were discussing before, that like one of the things that the Vita, for all of it being like a disaster for Sony as like a a larger endeavor, it's like a pretty incredible piece of technology in terms of being able to like just play emulated games, and it would be cool. It'd be very ironic and funny if the Xbox ended up being like a better way to play PlayStation games than the PlayStation itself.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Every time I play a PS4 game on my PS5, which is mostly what it does right now, I'm just like, great, now do PS2.
Please, I'm begging you.
I'm literally begging you. That is where all of my nostalgia for old video games is located, in the PS2 era and games that are on that thing. And I am at the exact right age to tap into that. So if you didn't make remakes and just gave me those old games, I would spend thousands of dollars.
Yeah, totally.
Where's the PlayStation 2 collection for Xbox? What's the...
Oh my God, please.
No one cares about old games.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing. I keep hearing that, and I don't know.
Just me keep saying until I'm like a tiny little tea kettle on a stove that to boil over.
Yeah, it's just boiling over. Yeah.
Yeah.
God. We should. I mean, this is the thing where I was like, who cares about old games? And then also half of this podcast has been playing the Demon Souls remake nonstop, a remake of an 11-year-old game or whatever. And
so I'm sorry to say that I didn't listen to the podcast while I was not here. So
it's fine. I was on paternity leave for months. You know what I didn't do?
Just listen to this fucking podcast.
No, none of us. That's what happens.
But okay, I want to say one thing before we get into it, because I imagine this will be a little bit like when me and Cado talk about Destiny. I keep seeing ads for Demon Souls whenever I watch. The only place you can watch Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex is the Adult Swim app. And they constantly play ads for Demon Souls on it. And it's almost convinced me to buy it several times. And also...
You don't have to buy it. Didn't you got a code?
Right, I have a code, so I don't have to buy it. But am I going to play this shit? Like, that is the thing. Am I going to sit down in front of my TV and install it and, like, actually play it until I get frustrated and leave? So I've started playing Jedi Fallen Order, which is a Souls-like. And I found myself understanding why people like it. Finally.
Okay.
I will say that there was someone on Twitter this weekend who it may as well have been you that said, hey, so I followed y'all's advice and like played Fallen Order because I was Souls curious and thought this would be my entryway. Loved Fallen Order. Went and bought Bloodborne on sale. This shit sucks, man. It's hard as hell. Like, what are you people talking about? And I was like, Well, no, so I think it's like just as likely that you can get a taste from Fallen
This is
Order,
what I'm afraid of.
and then fall into, and then go to the real thing. Not the fall. You know what I mean by segment.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah, but, like,
go
as
to
much as I
a
like-
From Software game and bounce off of it.
Yeah, I feel like, when it comes to Hades, I feel like I can play. I've played Hades and I like that. And it means I feel like I'm also, I failed so much in Hades that I feel like if I fail in a Spelunky, it will no longer feel like the end
Hades
of the world.
is way better training wheels for a rogue game than Fallen Order is training wheels for
This is my question. Yes.
for a Souls game, because specifically because the forgiveness that exists in Fallen Order cannot in many ways not mentally prepare you for the punishment of an actual Souls game, whereas Hades is often maybe not as punishing, but I guess like the distance between those two things is not as great as I think the difference between like Fallen Order and Bloodborne
I really liked Fallen Order, but it is not asking as much of you on a moment to moment level as Demon Souls is. Demon Souls is like really trying you. It's really like, I'm gonna fuck you up. There are different tactics it uses. You know what I mean? Like if you go back and listen to the previous episodes, Rob will talk about like having to fight these gargoyles and not having space to like fight them because he's on a little fucking walkway that there's nothing under him. What's gonna happen, right? He's gonna fall off. I'm guessing. I guess Patrick, you talked to him yesterday about how lost
he's got the gargoyles under control.
Okay.
But like he went to World 5 at one point, and that World 5 is an area where you're like going down all these it's like it's vertical instead of horizontal, and you're like trying to go down between these tiny little corridors, and then even once you get through there, you just go to a pond full of poison that is slowly sapping your health the entire time that you're going through.
Wow.
That sounds
It's one of my
awful.
least favorite. It's my least favorite place in that
It's
entire
so good though.
game,
It's
but
so good. It's not as good as
Game of
I think
2020.
Blight Town is a better version of what they were attempting to do in Demon Souls, but I still appreciate the it's dark. It's not any
It's
fun.
too dark,
it's a grind.
actually. This is the thing. Go look at footage of the original place. It's not that dark. They made it darker in the remake.
They went the opposite way with Valley Defilement. They made it darker instead of brighter. That's funny.
They made it darker instead of brighter. It's so weird. Anyway. You can kind of see further because there isn't like a fog. It's weird, but it's very dark and anyway, you should still try it.
Yeah,
Gita,
Gita, you should try it.
Okay, well, I've got a code, so that definitely does take some of the edge off. Where it's like, I got this shit for free. I'll just give it a shot. If I don't like it, I'll
play a royal, do a magic build, like get your feet wet. And
magic is still totally broken in this version, right?
100%.
Oh hell yeah,
definitely. But I just do it. It seems cool. It seems dope. I beat it over the break. I beat it like way too early in the break. I should have saved it. I should have savored it. But I had one of those runs where I was like, damn, I beat a boss. Damn, I beat another boss. You know what? Let's just go. Let's just get it done. I had a really long boss fight with the final boss, and then wrapped it up. And that game, again, same thing I said last time, which is like I have my quibbles about certain bits of aesthetic design, especially around architecture and creature design, and that was there all the way through. But that is about moving away from what I liked about the original designs, not about the execution of what they were going for, which I think that they nail, right? Like, when I complain about the way, Boletarian Palace looks, it's not because I think they did a bad job of doing the thing they wanted to do. It's because I liked the old Boletarian Palace and kind of how untouched it was, and how not untouched by people, but untouched by like flair, right? Like it's not a particularly well decorated space in the original game. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of
which on some levels like technical limitations, right? And it makes me so curious. Like there's no way to play out the what if, but
I would love to know.
Would their version of an aesthetic update look like? Even if they just did like, they could just do like one boss, like just that first boss. I'd love, the one that they turned into, a Doom reject.
Doom,
and I still think it looks cool for what they're going for. Like
that's
it just
exactly
is,
it.
If you approach it on Blue Point's terms, I think they more or less nail what they're going for, and you can quibble from there. But I would be so curious because you can't just take that model from the PS3 version and just update it. Like you have to do more than that. And so I would be so curious to know what would like a Miyazaki or the art directors, like what do they look at as essential? Like what is the core of this creature that when you are faced with unlimited technical, sort of like wizardry. Like, how do you maintain that? What do they figure to be the essence that they're maintaining forward on an aesthetic level? I'd just be so curious what that is and like what that final product looked like, because my guess is they would arrive at a much different place than Bluepoint did.
That's my guess too. But the point is that I really still ended up enjoying my time with it. I was really fond of the build that I ended up doing, that Faith Strength build that I mentioned. I got the large blade of moonlight, this giant glowy dope blue sword that does incredible magic damage.
I went and collected that this weekend.
It's a fun thing to go grab. Like the situation around how you get it is cool without spoiling it. There's some slugs involved, is what I would say.
A lot of slugs.
It's gross.
Some signs that just say, I don't know, hit it, and
it's good. So yeah, like I ended up really enjoying that. Go ahead, Cado, because I know you started playing also.
Yeah. Is it just me, or does it feel like more of the fucking messages are true this time around? Have y'all noticed a trend?
There's some fake stuff I found for sure. There's some like roll here's and
that's the one I see the most
hit
often.
The wall. There's like, this isn't a wall. There's only the walls. The only walls are in that one level.
But it's fun to whack that wall a couple times. But maybe I'm just getting the wrong angle.
Yeah,
yeah.
It definitely feels like the most obvious ones that are bad stay up, where it's like roll here and then you can like tilt the camera down. It's like there's nothing. There's fucking nothing.
There's nothing.
I can't see nothing.
I wonder how much of that is like not most, but like a lot of people are coming to this game with like institutional knowledge. Like I'd be curious how does the game distribute that stuff? How does it choose what to surface? And then how does that interface then with, the audience that is probably putting down signs are most likely people who have played the game before.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a newcomer is probably not spending their time thinking, I got to put down some tool tips here troll some folks.
I feel like I've basically at every time, this is a thing that the Souls games love to do, is put an enemy around a corner where you have two options. You can either look left or right, and it's always going to be one of the two, and there'll be someone fucking waiting for you. And I just keep finding, like, right before entering that archway or doorway or whatever it is, a little message that says, look right. And it's always been the correct direction.
You're right. I have noticed even
very nice.
Even like items being pointed out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, good thing up ahead. I actually had that same sort of observation that, oh, actually I didn't, like, in some ways it was like a spoiler. It was like I didn't need to know that thing.
Right.
Like I like sometimes the surprise is fun, and I'm with you. Like, so I stopped checking them sometimes because I was like, okay,
right.
but even just the presence of it was like, well, most of the time these are helpful. So even just the fact that there's a sign there is telling me that like, I should probably be careful up ahead.
Yeah.
This is only the thing that's interesting about that. I'm curious, one, to what degree is that Souls veterans being like, all right, this is our chance. A lot of people are going to play this game. It's a launch game. We can get people in. Let's be nice. Let's not be assholes as much as we can. But then also just, I think it does speak to the fact that I always come back around this in the Souls games, that there is this line of design through it, both through the co-op and through the signs, that encourages this style of breaking out of your single player headspace and like trying to do everything by yourself and etc. Like it's always already been a co-op game because of things like those signs, right? We talked a few weeks ago about how I think it's totally cool that that's a game where you can look outside of the game to learn things about stats and stuff like that. Like it's like in line with how the game works is to step outside of it. And the reason I think that that's the case is because it's already doing that in the game, right? It already has a system in the game for giving you information that is not present in the environment, like organically, and that system is that sign system. And I think that helps bring that it really helps, because it's almost like one of those things where there's certain language that we speak when you play video games, or like you see a waterfall, you go, there's a treasure chest behind that waterfall for sure in a platform, or you go get that treasure chest, you're like, yep, good, that's the good video game. I feel like Souls has its own grammar around a lot of those things, but if you're playing it for the first time, you just won't necessarily see that stuff. And so I think having that system there, even if it is, you're right, Patrick, it can be a little spoilery, both in terms of like there's an enemy up ahead, or like you don't. But that's just look me. Left. There's a lot of like look
hundreds
left.
of hours of like so like that's I don't think they should change anything necessarily.
No,
it's just an interesting observation as like a veteran who's like played this game before to then have that experience. Whereas like Yeah, I actually think it like makes sense for there to be a sign that says like keep rolling through like these 7 boxes. That, like, otherwise,
Keep going.
like this is not a
Time
game
for
that like
rolling.
drops. Well, right, yeah, because this is not a game that like has anything inside of any of its boxes. But then occasionally there'll be one behind a box, and so it's cool that that's there to encourage someone to do a behavior that the game doesn't naturally encourage.
Another,
Cado, how
another-
are you finding it otherwise? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm really enjoying it, and actually, like speaking to that cooperation, I haven't beat a single boss without help.
Hell yeah.
Which is great because I've noticed, and this is a thing just carrying over from my other Souls experience, where I know like, okay, there's 2 forms that you take, your like soul form, your body form, or whatever, and when you have body form or whatever it's called in whatever game, that's when you can summon people to help you. I've been noticing, basically before every single fog gate, someone drops the message, if only I had some friends, to signal that
Damn.
this is the fog gate that leads to the boss room. So that this is where people are dropping their signs. And so like I pop the crystals, turn myself back into body form, pick up a couple buddies, and we go at it. Like I've done a first run with help of every boss except for the very, very first one. Everything after that I've hit, it's been with co-op, and it's been great because there's still enough people playing and like hitting even the early bosses that like there's always like 2 people ready to go. Like signs, there's signs for days still, which is a really fun feeling of just like we're all in this together, we're all doing it, you know, we're all getting through, and it's been really fun. I feel
it's
like
very cool to see the like phantoms of people just like running around in circles in front of a boss gate, being like, "All right, I'm ready to help. If you need help, I'll come. I'm
chilling.
Come through." Yeah, totally.
I've really been enjoying the way that these spaces are designed too. Given that the way that they've set up the like what I know as bonfires, the archstone system, and it being like it makes them have a more kind of tightly wound level design, because there's only the one checkpoint, so you're kind of wrapping back around and finding new ways to get through and back to the same place a lot more than I feel like even Dark Souls. Like there are still like shortcuts in Dark Souls, but it feels like it's a shortcut to the next bonfire almost, right? It's not this kind of like interlocking singular space between each boss that only really requires the one bonfire to exist. It's just like, you know, it's very clear how they like made that design, the design decision to make each level kind of this each not level full level, but you know, each like one
Yeah,
two,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
and so that's
totally.
been really neat to kind of see the different approach.
Well, and you're gonna hit levels. You're gonna hit like stages, I guess, where there are not really shortcuts. Those exist, and it's like, or the shortcut is your knowledge of the layout,
sure,
more than anything.
Like it's there is like, I think like one of the only real genuine, we're just gonna lop off most of this level for you, is in the second area of 5-2.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking
Getting
about?
that shortcut is the
rules.
greatest moment in that game.
It might
because
be. Yes.
that area sucks so bad. It's so big. There's so many places where things can go wrong in that level. And when you get the checkpoint, you realize how close it puts you to the end of the level. Is just like, oh, my heart. Thank God.
But they also, they're mild spoilers, like they also tempt you with a fog gate. And it's, so it's like easy to like miss that like way to get the shortcut. I've been tempted to like, Rob, when you go back there, to like, I just need to tell you, I need you to look over the area, not forget that area. Do not be tempted by that gray gate, and like make sure you go figure that out.
That boss isn't impossible, so like maybe you win it on the first try, you don't have to think about it. But if you fail, it's a long walk around. But yeah, no, I think that's a really good observation, Cado. I think like the way that stuff changes, and I think Dark Souls 1 probably still does have a lot more of those moments of like, aha, I see where I am.
Right.
Because that whole game is built around that kind of clockwork, like interconnected world where you feel like you're realizing how it all fits together, and that the shortcuts are a really great way for them to communicate that.
Yeah.
But here there is there is an interlocking inside of the single level that works really well. I think especially, have you gotten to the first mine level yet, where you start to like pop out and you're like, hey wait this is
second.
yeah,
I see that.
totally.
Oh, now there's
Totally.
a thing moving here that okay. Yeah.
It's the
Yes,
closest
that
that
part
it has
is
to Dark
really great.
Souls.
Yeah,
is
definitely.
World 2.
Yeah. It was really interesting. I finished that game and I barely crafted anything, or I barely needed crystal lizards is really what it means. That's
Right.
really
Because
what I mean.
you can't upgrade armor in Demon Souls. You're only
Totally.
upgrading your weapons.
Your weapons and shields.
I
and
found a weapon and I'm like, I don't need anything else anymore. It's a dragon longsword. It's got that fire damage on it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
so
So
you
Cado-
motherfuckers.
you can basically I had that for a long time. I found that, and you should spend the time in so you've beaten the spider, right?
Yeah,
Like, 'cause
yeah.
to get this, you have to have beaten the spider.
Yeah.
And so if you go left from that spoke, there's all those like fire bugs, the floating, little creatures. If you just spend like an hour, put on a podcast, like just grind out put on the item drop like increase rate ring, and just get all the upgrades and you can get the dragon sword up to +4 from the drops that occur in that area, and you're gonna be able to coast through like huge, not coast, but like you're gonna it's a really powerful sword. It doesn't scale on anything, so you sort of have to like pick, either like late game, what do you want something to scale to? So either pick dex or pick strength, and like keep putting points into one of those, so that at some point, if you find that you don't want to deal with the fire sword in like the last third of the game and you want something else, you've been appropriately putting points into something that'll get the bonus damage. Because like the dragon sword is kind of a cheat because you're getting the fire damage off of it. So it's like that's the bonus you normally get from a scaling weapon that you won't like. But the problem is so I did that. Like I put points in scaling, and then I went back. I beat Flame Lurker so that you can use the souls you get from bosses to craft like special types of weapons.
Is Flame Lurker an archdemon?
no.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Archdemons are always just the last boss in a world.
Oh, fuck. Okay. God damn
There's
it.
one after Flame Lurker. Have you gotten a Flame Lurker? Is that why you feel like that should be the last boss?
Yeah, I got there once.
Flame
I mean,
Lurker
so
fucking
in theory,
sucks, dude.
I mean, realistically,
I know.
Flame Lurker is the archdemon because what happens after that is trivial, basically. So
okay.
so know that once you get past Flame Lurker, you've done the hard
You've
part.
basically
of that
done.
world.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I didn't have any stones to summon with, so I just was like, let's see what's up.
Also, Cado, in that area is where you got that dragon sword.
Yeah.
And you know what is fucking useless against Flame Lurker?
The dragon
a sword full of fire.
Yeah.
Sure. Got flame right in the name. doesn't it?
But so then I crafted this meat cleaver because I wanted to break out of the build that I had. And so I went back. I got like the Crescent Falchion so I could beat Flame Lurker. Crafted the meat cleaver, but then I went to the Valley Defilement, and like all those enemies are weak to fire, including the bosses.
Yeah.
And so I ended up
they
still
really
sticking. I was like, I tried really hard to like break out of my build, and was like, nah, like this is still like really useful. That said, I did without spoiling it, the final boss of World 5, when you have to fight the tiny dude to get to the end of that little area. I used my meat cleaver and parried my way through it, which was really the parry on the meat cleaver. Just go look up that animation if you haven't seen it. It feels like it should do more damage than you actually take off because it's so long. It's like 40 seconds. It's really
looks
satisfying.
like the Pyramid Head sword. Like it literally just looks like a Silent Hill enemy sword. It's great.
and so that enemy, Austin, the part of the reason to have the meat cleaver is that it does a lot of knockback damage to even boss level enemies. And so that person that you're trying to take out, if you hit them with just the R1, it shoves them back maybe 15 feet, like on their ass. It is so satisfying.
Yeah. Someone sent me their version of a similar boss fight, and I was like, damn, the two-handed, the big heavy swords, when they hit, or they're not swords, and they're actually technically hammers. They just look like swords. They're a hammer class weapon, which is great.
And you can coat them in magic, so it's like
Right.
You know, you can go into a fight with this two-handed meat cleaver that can do like base damage of like, you know, 350 and then throw on that fire and, you know, you're doing
Great.
425 on a swing and you're just going to fucking town on some of these enemies. Yeah, I'm in the end game. I finished all the worlds except you know, now that I can open up the door on World 1 and can do the last two areas, but I don't want to. Then it's over and that bums me out,
Right.
but I might turn my eyes to some other. You know, I started playing like Umurangi Generation and some other stuff.
Hell yeah.
Umurangi's really good.
Really.
I had some trouble in the opening. We can get to that in a second. But
I had one other last question for y'all since you've played both of these games. I feel like, and this might just be a feeling, but it seems like damage types between like piercing, slashing, and like bludgeoning matters more in Demon Souls than it did in like Dark Souls or something. Is that right, or am I just like
they do matter? I don't know if it's more. I'd have to look at Dark Souls
because I feel like in
been
Dark
about
Souls,
as long since I played Dark Souls.
I got the Uchikatana early in Dark Souls and was able to slash through most of that game without ever feeling like, oh shit, suddenly I'm not doing so much damage until I hit like a skeleton, which is like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But that was like the only time I feel like slashing damage did me wrong in the original Dark Souls. Where here, just base enemies in 1-1 versus 2-1 suddenly are taking like a ton less damage, and I was like, am I just under leveled? And then I swapped to piercings. I was using I'm a wanderer, so I was using the slashing, the falchion. I switched to a mail breaker that does piercing damage, and suddenly I'm doing like big numbers again. I was like, oh, these guys are just super resistant to slashing. And I feel
believe
like
that, yeah.
I feel like aside from like skeletons in like Dark Souls, like that almost never happened, right? Like I feel like I have to think about that specific the damage type thing more in this game early on even than I've throughout most of Dark Souls. Which brings me around to the point I want to make. Is just like I wish there was a way to know that easier.
Yeah.
Because the game already pushes back on you so hard in all these other ways that I feel like having that one piece of knowledge given to you would make that like it's already difficult because the enemies do a ton of damage, right? They can kill you pretty easily.
Yeah.
Well, and you never get like when as the player you get told like you're poisoned, but it's not as though when you're like doing like bleeding damage that like it's like you get like a status icon on the enemy that says like, by the way, you're doing bleeding damage. The only visual indicator you get of anything like that is if you have like a fire on your sword, like the enemies literally light on fire.
It'd be cool if there was like a Pokedex for enemies.
Right. Yes, this is what
that was just like, hey, you've determined from attacking them enough that they have a really high slashing defense, which they do. Those miners, Cado, have a 300 slash defense and only an 84 pierce.
Yeah, there you go. That's what was fucking happening. I thought, I was like, shit, I must be super underleveled. I'm going to go grind out some soul levels somewhere else. I come back, still doing shit fucking damage, being like, what the fuck is going on here? Is it just like, do I just have to backstab these people to get any damage on them? Turns out, it was just that damage type, and it felt like an added piece of friction that the other games that I've played didn't have as much, or if it did, it was like small enough that some overleveling did kind of overtake it.
Which will happen here eventually too, right? Like if you did leave here and go level up a bunch and came back, you would be able to get through this.
I did like a little bit, but it was like it ended up not being enough to really change those numbers anyways. But it's like a thing that
it's easy to forget how high your level gets in this game in retrospect, but it gets really high up there eventually.
It's just like a thing that I think always felt a little underutilized in the other games, and it's like I love that this happened. I just wish I had a way to find out, because there's so many different systems that I thought it could be before I thought about that specific system, right?
Totally, yeah. Though next time it happens, you're immediately going to be like, I bet these fuckers are strong against blunt or strong against slashing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that is the thing that how these games work, right?
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to keep a couple weapons on me just to test things out when I get to a new area or whatever.
Yeah.
Really quick, I just want to wrap back around because Gita, we mentioned Jedi Fallen Order briefly. I'm just curious because I was just thinking about that game and how there hasn't been real DLC for it, and that bums me out. I would love just new areas to go through. But how are you finding it generally?
So I am not a person who would have the patience for a Souls type game. I think I've told like maybe 6 or 7 stories about the love of my life, David Grossman, on this podcast so far. But here's one more, where he played that game and he got to the part where you learn how to parry. And he was like, I'm never going to learn how to do this right. And put it down and never picked it up again. And if I didn't play...
And the funny part is, like, the lesson of most Souls players is they said, that's cool, I'll just walk behind the enemy and hit it in the back instead and not learn how to parry.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. Is like, I'm more likely to behave like David than I am to behave like Patrick.
Sure.
It's like a Goofus and Gallant situation. You know?
That's fine. Not every game, like, as big as these games have gotten, it is... That's part of what's remarkable about them is that, you know, undergirding a lot of the, you know, conversations about like these games in terms of like accessibility and approachability, which are all like, you know, we've always been on the side of like, just put in fucking sliders in an easy mode. That's always, you know, like we've always erred on that side. But it's also the case that like, it still remains fundamentally surprising. These games are as popular as they are because they are created around such a deep level of friction. They're not anti-player, but it certainly presents itself as anti-player. It is certainly not a series, a design philosophy that is player first. It demands that you like respect what it's asking and meet it in order to progress. And it's totally cool if you're like, that does not sound enjoyable to me at all. It's also the case like brains are wired differently. Like this whole podcast is full of people that like to play strategy games. You know what my brain can't fucking do? Strategy games. Like I can do XCOM, like I can do baby strategy, but I get to a certain degree and it's just like my brain doesn't work that way. It's frustrating. It's not fun. I don't want to learn it. I'm uninterested in learning it. And I don't want to learn how to play Total War. But I can understand intellectually why they're cool. But that's not me. And so like, it's okay to be like, just because all of us are talking about, so this is how I feel about when everyone talks about strategy games. Like, cool, go enjoy your time. That's not me. So it's you don't have to feel as though. I'd be curious to see if you did enjoy it because you didn't like rogue games, and then Hades ended up being an entry into it. But that doesn't necessarily, I think, mean that you suddenly have to become like a Souls acolyte as a result.
With the Jedi Fallen Order, is that I'm getting a lot of enjoyment out of it from the Star Wars flavor, where the way that it is hard makes me feel more like I'm in a Star Wars adventure serial, you know?
Sure, yeah.
Where the way that you are possibly the last Jedi in the known universe that is, you know, fighting alone, you know, against the Empire that's completely taken over, it completely makes sense that this game is as grueling as it can be, right? Or that whenever the game plays tricks on you, I always have to chuckle to myself, like feeling like I'm a little bit closer to my friends that have played Souls games and are like, you know, sometimes you get to an area and you're playing as best as you possibly can, and then you just get murked by something you can't see that shoves you off a ledge. And every time that happens to me, I'm like, I understand an experience now that my friends have had that now it also makes me laugh, you know, now it also, I understand how this can be a funny story in a game, or how you can be holding a controller infused with so much hatred and just evil towards a video game. And then once you actually defeat the challenge that has been grueling you, the challenge of just not knowing where the hell you are on the map and there's no fast travel, and you've just gone to a lot of random locations that seemed like they're in the right direction, but were not. And then you tried to jump a ledge from one part of the map to the other just to see if you could, and that didn't work out either. And then you spend like literally an entire hour while your boyfriend is making you dinner being like, baby, I just can't save right now. I really just want to get to the ship. I'm so sorry, baby. I'll be done in a second. And then you finally do, and you just like feel like it's the first time you've exhaled in like 3 years. I understand now why that's very, very satisfying. It rocks. It's just I'm playing on the setting that has parry timing way more generous than it normally is.
I'm so glad that game
I'm glad that it
Yeah.
has that. It's such a smart observation on
because my parry timing is, I'm better at it now, but I'm still shitty at it. Like it would have taken me a lot longer to figure that out if I didn't have a more generous window.
Totally. I hope that they revisit that game, because where it leaves off is interesting, and I'm excited to see them come back to it.
Quick back wrap around to Demon Souls, a thing I fucking noticed. Speaking of traveling, did y'all notice you can use activities to fast travel between archstones? Yeah,
you'll lose your souls though, right? If you're not.
Okay.
I I believe the one time I was like, let me see how this works. I was like, hey, you'll lose these souls. So,
Okay.
But it is useful for like
if you're already
if you just boot up the PlayStation and then you can just like hit, you can just jump to, I want to go back to like the area where Flame Lurker, the path to, it doesn't take you to Flame Lurker, it just takes you to the,
it takes you to the same Archstone where you would, but you like cut out the Nexus, which feels weird to me.
I also agree with this.
Just because I don't like it. Like narratively, like the way that things kind of like shift and like the people showing up and that you need to talk to, like I feel like if you end up using that too much, you might miss out on stuff. Also, should I kill Patches? Can I kill Patches? Is it okay to kill Patches?
Patches is fine.
You should. Patches is bad. It's not someone you should. Sometimes you have problematic friends, but it is. Sometimes those problematic friends are also your drug dealer, and if you just need to get the weed, which is what you need, you need the leaves and demon souls all the time.
Patches got that leaf.
Could you go to could you warp to a different area and
go see that motherfucker in World 1 who's always like up on all fours, like doing that little mixtape pose? Like you could go find that
There
guy.
is the one at the beginning of World 2-1, like outside of the mines.
You're right.
But then you got to go to World 2-1. Can't just do it in the Nexus.
Whether or not to buy weed from the guy I gave a BJ to, even though he gives me a discount.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, just stick with Patches. Patches is fine. Patches has good prices.
Also, they're honestly
the motherfucker tried to kill me.
Other motherfuckers you're gonna have to worry about. So
no, listen. He tried to kick you into a hole. There's a motherfucker down there who tried to kill you.
I don't think Cado got to that point
I
yet.
feel like you've come full circle back around to Empire Sin. Somehow we've made it all the way back.
We have. You're right. I forgot about that. The first hole that Patches kicks you into. I forgot about the first hole.
The first hole is the hole that Patrick just personally kicks you into.
Yes.
He invades
But you want to
the world,
play Dark Souls? This is Dark Souls, bitch. And he just comes to your house and kicks you in a hole.
There are characters.
I now understand my parenting style.
All right, Jessica, figure it out.
Welcome to Dark Souls, bitch.
There will be characters. So this is what your thing about fast traveling made me think is like there are things that only trigger when you kill a boss and then return to the Nexus.
Correct.
There was a chain of events that starts happening after you kill a boss, after a certain character comes back home to the Nexus. And then, as you start coming back each time, some stuff progresses. And I'm curious if you just bounce between Archstones using the PlayStation fast travel.
Yeah, but you'd always have to come back to level up.
You're right, but I'm curious how many. Yeah. I'm curious if that would trigger each time you do it, or only when you come back to the Nexus. Do you know what I mean?
It's always a boss. So it's like if you. Oh, so you're like
once it starts happening, it is not only a boss.
So if you were jumping between.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think
I'm curious because that thing is 8 steps long. It's longer than how many bosses are left in that game.
You would always come back to the next. How what are you beating 8 bosses but never using your souls to level up?
Demon Souls people, yes.
Well, but those people have already played it.
Yes,
Cado is going to come back and level up.
I'm mostly just curious how they handled that.
Functionally,
if they trigger a step each time you go from world to world.
So what you're suggesting is this very without spoiling because Cado
could come home at step 8 of that and be like, "Oh my god, what happened?"
You know what, Austin? Actually, I hope that's possible because that is so fucking funny. Oh my god, that would be.
This is what I'm building
so
towards.
Funny.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
This is the fucking pizza gift from Community.
Oh, great.
God.
Good.
All right. Anyway, what's your beef with Umurangi level 1?
Well, let's save it for Thursday. I'll beat it by then.
Okay, you'll beat it by then.
I don't have beef, but I have some beef. But let's wait till Thursday. We've gone long enough.
I love that game.
I can feed it.
It's like a little McDonald's burger, like a steak. Just a little bit of beef.
Yes. All right then.
Burger.
I'm just a little happy. Oh, let me quickly before we wrap up. I did start playing over break 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. Again, I've been meaning to start for a long time. I
played an hour of that for there'll be a feature in the future.
Okay. I played more than I played through all the prologue and then I started 1 or 2 other stories after that. That game is really cool. It's gorgeous. It's one of the best looking games of the year.
Okay.
The art's incredible. I need to it's a vanillaware game. The pitch on it is this is the thing. It's it's so hard to even talk about it because part of the pitch is that the writing is really good and there's really interesting twists and turns and setups with characters and blah, blah, blah. But the very, very, very basic premise is giant robots invading giant mechs that fight giant invading robots, but also an interesting time travel filled story about a group of young people whose lives get entangled in increasingly compelling ways, and who, you know, are seemingly trying to save the world, but also have their own personal interests, both personal as in their personal lives and crushes and relationships, but also personal as in like, hey, I'm from the 1940s. I'm a Japanese soldier who wants to win the war, versus you're from 2035 and your life is just different than mine, and you have a different worldview and maybe don't think about these robots in the same way that I do. It's been really interesting so far. It's really hard for me this year to like sit down and play through something that is mostly just dialogue and text. I mean, there are gamey elements to it. Not that if that stuff wasn't there, it wouldn't be a game, but there is, I should say, like sort of a tactics or strategy layer that feels almost a little bit like a tower defense game, but much more active. You're moving your mechs around a map, a kind of abstract, like polygonal. It almost looks like looking like at a battle map in a war room in a sci-fi movie. You know what I mean? And it's not like it's not animated. It's not like here's your characters doing, you know, interesting animations. I mean, you can kind of hover, or you can, when you go to pick an attack, it shows you what that attack would look like hypothetically, but it's not playing out those animations as you're fighting these killer robots or whatever. It's just kind of like very abstract out to be that kind of war map style. And those are fun little segments. I like those segments quite a bit, but they're pretty divorced from the moment to moment stuff, which is like characters talking, you trying to decide what to bring up in conversation or what idea to present or evidence, so to speak, or like, you know, item that you have in your character's inventory. And you're bouncing between this huge group of characters over the course of play. So, you know, you have your kind of like your boy who really loves monster movies and like has his memory is a little like clouded, and it's clear he used to go by a different name, but he can't even quite remember that. But he loves old monster movies, he loves old giant robot movies, and that fandom is like something that's throughout his character. There's a character who loves, which is another similar like loves movies character, but like loves UFOs, loves conspiracy theories, loves ET. And early on in her thing, she gets a little robot companion, and the bit there of her just like realizing, her being like, yes, it's gonna fucking happen to me. I'm gonna protect this little alien dude. I'm gonna get him back home to his family. It's gonna be just like the movie, and then it does not go as nicely as she hopes it does. Is very good. There's like, you know, cool delinquent characters in the like Yakuza style of Japanese badass characterization, which is very fun. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's been so hard for me to stay focused on something like this, where it would be easier for me if this was a book so badly, because I can just like turn the lights down a little bit, sit not near screens and just read. Whereas when I'm playing something right now that is so text heavy, it is very hard for me to stay focused and not get distracted in 2020 by a billion other things going on, not least of which is like my anxiety spiking and feeling like something has to happen. I managed to do it with Paradise Killer, but Paradise Killer is such a much more active game where you're constantly moving around and jumping and stuff like that. I think this is just like where I'm at this year, which is a bummer, because I really like this game. I really like 13 Sentinels, and I've been looking forward to it for literally years. So I'm going to try to power through and just like find it. I wish it was on Switch, because then I could just like play it in bed or on my couch.
Entirely under the covers.
Totally, 100%, and that would be perfect.
Yeah.
But right now, like I'm at my desk where I work, and so I'm in that mode.
Oh,
you know,
it's awful.
When I'm,
yeah.
And it's just not.
Yeah, I just bought it, just so you know,
shit.
because you told me essentially that Greg Turkington is in this game. It's a mech game about
that's
Greg
correct.
Turkington.
Yeah,
That's all I've
Greg Turkington is a teenage boy and gets into a giant robot.
I mean, it seems like the only thing he'd want to have happen in his life. That's a giant robot full of popcorn, because that feels
that's what he wants. God,
I can't wait to give this game 5 stars and a little tiny mech.
God. Any other things we want to shout out before we wrap up the pod?
if you really are into Empire of Sin or like that concept, but can't cop the game immediately, the only thing I want to do while I'm playing it is watch the most recent season of Fargo starring Chris Rock as a super cool black
I need to catch up
mob
on it
boss.
so bad.
Yo, as soon
Has it
as
been
you
good?
get
Has
on
it been
it,
good?
I'm going to rope you
Okay.
into a bonus pod, just so you know. Because
Okay.
I mean, even if we don't do
I
a bonus pod,
really
I'm going to
love-
call you on Discord and be like,
Yeah,
Austin,
we'll
we
just
have to
talk
fucking
through it.
talk about this.
I'm so far back. I watched the first season of Fargo, really liked it, and then fell off in the second season. Not because it was bad, just because I got distracted.
Yeah.
And then that's
It's
just
a
how I am on
slow,
TV.
very meditative
They're
show.
not connected though, so you could just watch.
It's
Yeah.
anthology
I mean, they are-
style. There's
Yeah.
bonus stuff for you if you've watched the second season, but this season essentially doesn't even take place in Fargo. It takes place in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
So
Fair.
you can pretty much, you don't have to watch
I can just jump in.
fucking Bilbo Baggins act with his big British nose.
Damn, get him.
Wow.
Beat him up. All right, on that note, let him know. On that note, we'll wrap things up now. We'll be back later this week with some more stuff. I don't even know. I feel like we are in that little brief window between now and the holidays where not too much happens outside of Cyberpunk in like 2 weeks or whatever
Like,
that is.
why is it always
reviews just
the most busy
ahead.
time of my personal life, like for work though? Because I feel like
Yeah.
I am working on this, the review for Empire of Sin, and then there's a bunch of other little things that are going to get swept up under the holiday rush that I really want to make sure that I write about and talk about in this pod before then. So
This is right. This is like catch up time. That's the thing, right? This is like, all right, what have I not hit yet?
Yeah.
Let me look at the list of the whole year and see if there's anything I need to go back to that I missed, etc. So I feel you. Patrick, is that what you were about to say? Basically the same thing?
No, I completely forgot about Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Oh, right.
Reviews just dropped for that.
I just retweeted a review of this.
Did any of us play it? Why didn't we talk about it?
No, we didn't get early access to it. Ubisoft has been a little.
Wow. Why?
Interesting.
Why is that following us, Patrick?
I don't know. Anyway, the reviews seemed like kind of what you expected. Better than
Let me tell
you might
you,
have thought, but constrained in the ways you might expect for a.
I would have been
Ubisoft.
way more ready for this game in a year where it didn't have Genshin Impact. Let me scratch that Breath of the Wild itch.
True.
Which new characters dropped Genshin today, so I got to go see if
shit.
they look cool. There's like trials for them. So that game, by the way, had some expansion stuff recently, and more coming in a few weeks also. And that game continues to be good. I'm not like keeping up with my dailies, but I'm keeping up with like the weekly event type things. Which has been fun, and that game's still really good. It's really interesting because this is my last note on this is when I finished Breath of the Wild, one of my big feelings with it was like, I wish I could stay in this world after the events of Breath of the Wild had ended and just kind of like continue to inhabit this space and check in on people and like get little updates. And Genshin Impact, because it's a live service game, is literally that. And so there are big, huge, dramatic fights in that game where you're like, fighting gods basically, or beings of that scale in certain instances. And it is cool for there to be events where you like come back in and like go talk to people about it and see what their perspective is on it. And switching over from Breath of the Wild mode where you're going around and solving puzzles and collecting everything to this kind of maintenance mode where you're doing a weekly event where, you're doing a combat challenge or something, or you're going around and collecting things that have been spread all across the map, new things that have been added to the map, stuff like that, is like a really cool way to continue to inhabit a space like that in a game that is trying to be like Breath of the Wild, but more combat heavy and more like focused on builds and stuff like that. So I'm still very happy with that. And I definitely think I would be way more excited for Immortals if I hadn't already played a really good one of those this year. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still curious about Immortals, but we'll see. On that note, we'll be back on Friday with more. I almost said Thursday because that's when we record, but that's not. That podcast does not come out on Thursday.
No.
I hope everyone has a good week. You can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/waypoint. You can find me at Austin_Walker. Where can people find you, Gita?
You can find me at XOXOGossipGita on twitter.com and other places.
Right, yeah, of course. Cado.
You can find me feeling like I'm breaking my PlayStation controller every time I use the triggers.
Oh, yeah, that feels weird a little bit. Sure.
It's just like I'm not used to like having to force a controller to do something. And it
I
feels
do
like
keep wondering, like,
something's
when's it
stuck.
going to break on me?
Yeah, 100%.
When's it going to break on me?
100%.
It's all made out of plastic. You know that it's strong plastic, but it is plastic. We've all broken a piece of plastic before.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
True. That's just true. Patrick.
At Patrick Lubbock.
There you go. We'll be back later this week. Thank you to Bowen for letting us use the track Miss You off the EP Pale Machine. Find out more about that. Waypoint.zone/BOEN. As always. You know what? Hey, shout outs to the 250 million people in India who are on strike right now.
Hell yeah. Hell
Against
yeah.
austerity measures and neoliberal policies and, you know, a government that has done some real fucking terrible shit. So shout outs to them and to take a cue from them. Fuck capitalism. Go home.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
We'll send this right over.
Thank you. Good pod, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Patrick, I'm about to give $5 to the Just King Things people so that I can hear their bonus episode on Maximum Overdrive.
It's good. I just listened to that last week. Also, that podcast.
You gotta watch that movie, though.
I really want to see that movie.
I will
really
watch
want
that
to see
movie. That is the exact kind of shit that me and David love to watch together.
Absolute
so
trash in
definitely
the best
watch it.
possible way. It sounds so good.
And if I could give you, I told Gita this. This is an unproven theory. It is a long standing.
It feels real.
Feels real. This will make more sense after you watch it. But the producer of Maximum Overdrive was also producing a David Lynch film at the time. And there is a sequence in Maximum Overdrive that feels so out of, for Cado, you're not aware of Maximum Overdrive is a Stephen King, the only movie he ever directed. He wrote lots of screenplays, the only one he ever actually directed.
Okay.
And it was that adaptation of...
in the middle of his coke phase, which was very long. It was not a short phase. It was a very, very long. He was abusing coke. He was abusing alcohol. He was fucked up and writing incredible stories at the same time. And this is about cars that come to life and suddenly turn against their human masters. There's a germ of a good idea, and apparently the short story is better than the movie. The
called Trucks. That's all. Which is the best.
You know, in the podcast when they went through that short story collection, they said that Trucks just seems inspired by the gas shortage because there's this whole scene where they're just lined up at the pumps and watching this huge line of cars, and they're
King hates religion and Reagan. He runs through all of his work. He hates Republicans, but really hates Reagan.
Good Republican to hate.
True. And there's a sequence in the movie where there's this little boy who's trying to get through a neighborhood, and he is the sprinklers, and he's seeing all these little vignettes of how different appliances have turned on people hair dryers and things like that. It's creepy and it's eerie and it's weird and has no place in the movie. It's the only legitimate sequence in the film, and it makes because oh, if the whole movie was this would be amazing, and it happens early on that you think maybe the whole movie is this, and it's not. The whole movie is a trash fire. And
someone who hasn't seen the movie yet, the most coked out decision absolutely is AC/DC doing the entire soundtrack.
And they didn't do an orchestral soundtrack. They just recorded an AC/DC out. It's just guitars and bass. It's good. They rule.
Yes.
There's a metal guitar sting, and it doesn't make any sense. That is a cocaine decision.
It's so good. But anyway, so the rumor is that Lynch did come to the set at some point. It was hey, come see the Stephen King movie, and that the King was getting up, barely capable of making it to set and doing decisions. That Lynch actually shot this sequence.
Wow.
There's a rumor on a different Stephen King podcast that I listened to.
Oh my God.
and the King cast, and like
Kingcast,
it's just
yeah,
one of
yeah.
those like industry rumors. There's no way to substantiate it. But when you watch that film, just think about that sequence, think about that rumor, because it doesn't make any sense otherwise. Like it's the only way that makes a sequence. It's like this bit's amazing, and the rest is terrible. And that sequence being maybe directed by an early David Lynch, where like, oh yeah, he would pinch hit for like a 2-day shoot for a producer that was helping him early in his career.
This would have been like Blue Velvet era.
I believe it
Right.
was Blue Velvet was shooting at the
Incredible,
at the same time.
incredible.
Like in the same town, like it was just shooting just down the road. And so yeah, please go watch Maximum Overdrive. It's
I can't wait.
This
Pick your
sounds
substance
great.
of choice and watch Maximum Overdrive. It will only make the
can't wait. I
experience
have
better.
to watch this.
So
I'm so excited. All right. Well,
shit,
all right.
Charlie
finish
Sheen's
my
back.
mouth.
Enjoy that. Enjoy
Peace
this.
out.
Yeah. Bye.
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 If I was gonna have the worst draft pick, then I wanted to be paid for the right to have that worst draft pick. So it's a win-win either way, honestly.
There we go.
I saw your team is already doing the fun. Well, we should probably give that new guy a couple of
Yeah,
reps and see what we
100%.
got. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a what a. I don't even have that. That's at least like a. Who knows? Maybe you got something special waiting in on that bench. I don't even have that. It's just no. There are two broken pieces of shit on my team. Now I'm rooting for the New York Giants to win. What does my life become?
Why?
Wow.
No. Stop.
No, because they might want a new quarterback. So you're thinking of teams
Yeah.
in turn. You want teams who are losing to be like the Bengals, who is like, well, they're not. They have Joe Burrow. They're not going to get another quarterback.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, I should turn mine on.
I was like moments ago just covered in tears and mucus. It was disgusting. Why?
Sorry.
What
Is this I said anxiety. I meant allergies, but
Yeah, I mean, a little column A, a little column B.
fair.
God, and this
My
cat
cat-
any minute now is going to be like, well, I followed you into this room, but you're doing something in here I don't like, so you're going to have to get up and let me out.
I have the
Waiting
opposite.
for
I literally just had the opposite fucking thing happen to me. My cat just dropped kicked my door open.
Yeah.
Very powerful creature.
That door doesn't.
Incredible.
It's like barely closes. Like the door frame is like a solid inch too wide for the door.
Oh
So
my God.
it doesn't take much, but she likes to like parkour off of walls sometimes just to like get some
Just to feel something.
height to run in the opposite direction instead of stopping and turning around. And she just did it to the
No.
door so hard that it like swung open. I was like, oh shit,
It's beautiful.
who's coming in? It's just my cat.
Just a cat. 363 Cado.
Yes.
Okay. Let's time. Dot is.
David in the other room just said, act like Kathy, and I'm so impressed. When are we going to get a sexy reimagining of Kathy?
Oh no.
Who knows?
Wasn't that Ally McBeal? I say to myself.
10 seconds.